I am Dr. Michael Patterson, and I have my co-host here, Nicholas Stone Street. How you doing, Nick?
I'm good, Mike. It's good to be back with you.
It's been good. We've been having some incredible conversations.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about is the quality of your life depends on the quality of your relationships. And so my life's enriched by our relationship.
Well, I thank you so
So I
much.
thought that'd be a good way to start.
That, yeah, I feel the same way, my brother. It's good to have friends. What we like to do at Peacemakers, we like to have conversations that lead to transformation. As peacemakers, we want to get involved in racial reconciliation and just having good talks. And I believe so far we've had incredible guests whose lives are making an impact in our society. What's your assessment of what we've done so far, Brother Nick?
Well, I think people anchor into stories, right? We love stories. We love people's stories. And, when you hear the stories, you hear kind of what people have been through, you hear commonalities, and you can see yourself in somebody else's story. So that's why I love this format so much. Yeah, we've had some great conversations, Mike.
And we're going to continue. We have another opportunity to go deeper into a conversation that many of our listening audience can not only just hear, but implement, can imitate. I believe that the more we can implement what we learn, we can make a difference in this society. And today we're talking about why mentor. Why mentor? Mentoring at its core guarantees young people that there is someone who cares about them, assures them that they're not alone in dealing with day-to-day challenges, and makes them feel like they matter. Research confirms that quality mentoring relationships have powerful positive effects on young people in a variety of personal, academic, and professional situations. Ultimately, mentoring connects a young person to personal growth and development and social and economic opportunity. Yet 1 in 3 young people will grow up without this critical asset. And today we have a good friend of mine, a brother I've known for decades, Dr. Timothy Jones, principal of The Best Academy down in Atlanta, Georgia. And also we have his assistant principal, Mr. Shannon Williams. So we want to thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. And we want to jump into this conversation about mentoring. So, Brother Tim?
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for your lifelong friendship. You, in many ways, have been a mentor to me and for me. So I appreciate you in my life.
And I appreciate you in my life because as I was going through my graduate program, if you ever want to work on an advanced degree, have Dr. Timothy Jones in your life. I almost jumped out the window a couple of times. Pulled me back from the edge, but I do appreciate that friendship. Yeah, I met Brother Tim. You were 17?
Yeah, Florida State.
Florida State, 17-year-old freshman. And
absolutely.
In every sense of the word. Well, this is a faith-based audience. I've met him, brothers and sisters, doing something what we call door knocking. So I was a young Christian. I was knocking on doors in dorms, and I got an opportunity to meet this young dude from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Timothy Jones.
Yeah. That knock went unanswered for a while, didn't it?
Well, we don't have to go into all the details about that. You're here now.
Absolutely.
But like I said, let's talk about how mentoring has impacted your personal lives. I think you and Nick could have a great conversation about this because I believe you are very in tune with the importance of being mentored and mentoring young adults.
Yeah. So, for me is really trying to find a mentor. I think that's a frustration that young people can feel is like, who do I look up to? And it wasn't until I got to college that I found somebody that was a great mentor, somebody I really looked up to, somebody that I just felt like I wanted to imitate and could really learn from. And that, his birthday is March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, and I still call him and I write him a note of gratitude every year and talk to him a couple of times during the year, but especially on his birthday. I just always remember him taking the time because I'd never really grown up, with a lot of positive mentoring experiences and just fortunate to have someone that cared enough about me to reach back. And it made all the difference in the world. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to have a a litany of mentors in my life, starting from an early age. I didn't realize at that time what they were. I knew that they cared about me and they believed in me, but I didn't understand why, because I didn't have that degree of self-belief when I was young. But I tell you that you cannot have great people in your life that mentor you and sort of put you on a pathway to success without being compelled to do the same for others. And so because they were so significant in my life, I would hope that I could be as significant in the lives of others.
Excellent. So, Brother Williams?
I was really just sitting here listening to you guys, and I was thinking to myself, wow, who represented that mentor that, you guys you're speaking about so passionately. And I was thinking about, well, my father, of course, was an outstanding father figure, but I can remember the piece of my life when my father passed away and being a little lost for a while. And I had the opportunity to work at the district office for Atlanta Public Schools, and I worked as a leadership coordinator. And I can remember Dr. Jones being one of the men that always said, hey, come talk to my staff, come talk to my staff. And he gave me that piece of like, hey, what I was doing really meant something. And as he and I continued to get to know each other, he doesn't know, but he took on the place of that mentor for me. And I would just go in his office and he would always give me some words of advice. And I more so looked at the way he lived his life and the things that he said and the things that he did and the way he treated people. And I said to myself, wow, that's a guy that if I had the opportunity, I would really love for him to be my mentor, but I never knew how to ask him. And it just so happened that when the position of assistant principal became available at his school, he reached out, we talked about it, and I said, wow, look at all of this coming to fruition. And I end up being his assistant principal, and he's my de facto mentor. So we're having a celebration right now because this is the first time he's hearing this, that he has been my mentor, and he didn't even know it, but it's the way he carries himself and the way that he projects every day in the building that says to me and to my spirit, that's someone that I just love taking advice from and listening to.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow.
Thank you for sharing.
What an honor. Thank you so much.
Well, Shannon, you and Tim, can you talk a little bit about BEST and about the kids at BEST Academy and kind of sort of their backgrounds and where they're coming from and where you can help, where mentoring enters into their lives?
Definitely. One thing that Dr. Jones talked to me about entering into this position at the 30318 represents, one of the poorest areas in the state, and I'm talking about just economically, educationally, highest rate of crime, high age rate, teen pregnancy. So we have a bunch of things, dropouts, a bunch of things
And what about fatherless households?
69% of our young men at the school currently go home every day to homes without fathers.
69%. Wow.
So when you start putting that together, and I do a lot of research on leadership and just things that could help, as far as, and one of the things that I recently was looking at, I don't know if it was Elon Musk, I don't want to give him credit if it wasn't him, but it was going down that path. And he talked about what does it take to have a paradigm shift? And two things come into place. One, genetically, the other is environmentally. So genetically, if we're talking about having a paradigm shift with our young men, and genetically, and the fathers are not in the house, that's not going to happen. And then the second is environmentally, and we're talking about having a paradigm shift with our young men. But I talk to a lot of boys every day, and every day we talk, Dr. Jones spews this to us in our spirit every day, that we teach our boys to be the gift. So every day we're teaching them how to wrap their gift box, because the whole point of being a gift is to give it to what? Somebody else. Right. So we're trying to teach our kids how to be a gift, but environmentally, a lot of times when they go home, instead of them getting that extra boost on how to be this gift, their gift box is unwrapped. So every day we have to start over with this process of teaching our boys how to be the gift. So when we start talking about mentorship and why and how, and I've always, one of the things you'll hear me say a lot is connecting the what to the why. When you start talking about mentorship, how important it is for these young men in our community, in the best community, to have people that generally care about them, that can explain the what and the whys, and that can explain to them these are things that young men are supposed to be, trying to do, aspiring to do. It gives them a different mindset. And what we are talking about, if we're going to have a paradigm shift, it has to be looked at in that way, that mentorship has to take the place, one, of the genetically father that's not in the house, or two, the environment that is not conducive to producing productive people in society.
Wow. Thank you for sharing.
Exactly.
Before we move on, I think it'd be good for our audience to know a little bit more about Best Academy.
Yeah, Best is a 612 single gender school in Atlanta. We are currently serving about 300 African American and Latino boys. We have a litany of innovative initiatives, but we predicate the relationships at our school on the foundation of the best experience over a sustained amount of time. The longer we have these young men with us, the more impactful we can be in their lives.
Excellent.
And Tim, one time or a couple of times we've had the conversation just about the environment. And I remember we've talked before about even equipping the kids with body cams because of just the concern when they leave the school, they're safe at school, and then when they leave, what kind of impact does that have on kids when they're in an environment that may or may not be safe?
Yeah, obviously, we would have to do some data digging for years to see the true impact of trauma on a student and how it plays out academically, how it plays out socially. But what I would say is that we're smart enough to know that we can't control all of the factors. But what we can control is the lived experience that they have with us every day. One quick story, we have something called Fresh Start Monday. We did some data digging about 3 years ago and realized that Mondays, for some reason, we saw the most incidents, whether it was, simple, pushing and shoving or walking out of class or skipping. Monday was just a high day of interaction, negative. And so when you're looking at behavior data, you're asking yourself, why? Why Mondays? And we came up with what I think is a simple solution, is that we have to reorient them to school after every weekend because they were bringing the things that happened over the weekend back to school, whatever that was.
Wow.
And so we started off saying that Monday is a fresh start. And because of that, the way that we did it, it's I love you, you're here, you're in a safe place, in a safe space. And no matter what goes on beyond here you're safe. Here you're loved. Here you're believed in. Here you have opportunity. Here you're fed. Here you're nurtured. And so we saw almost in 2 months a complete turnaround. And then it was Thursday was our big day. I was like, well, we need a fresh start Thursday. But long story short is that, we have to be responsive to what happens in our community. And we hope to change them so that we transform their community.
That's great. Fresh Start Monday. I could use that.
We invite you to tune in. It's a Zoom link every Monday. Come
Really?
on in.
A Zoom link? Oh, that's great.
That's good. Well, I personally want to thank you, gentlemen, for your hard work. Education is not easy. You guys have taken on the role of not only teacher, leader, surrogate, father, uncle, big brother, big cousin, many pastors, there's so many facets to what you do. And I know you and I have talked extensively about partnerships, that there is a role for wraparound services, outside individuals to come in and meet you and the students and offer what we can. So can you talk a little bit about
Yeah, we
How
both
far-
will actually because
Yeah.
we're always trying to find resources
Okay.
for our students because it's bigger than us and it takes a village, but it takes a functional village
Gotcha.
in order to raise a kid. And so some of the things that we do is we have partnerships with people like Chris 180, the Path Church. We're moving to something that Shannon's going to talk about a little bit in terms of wraparound services. Our community has so many needs, but we're finding that there are resources out there that we haven't tapped into. And I just feel like it's our job to search and to find the opportunities that match the need. And I think that most leaders, this is a noble profession, right?
Absolutely.
Most leaders have that mindset, but they don't necessarily have the opportunities nor the knowledge to go find it. And so we're specializing in finding what we need.
Well, I'm glad you say that, Tim. Before we move on, have you shared with Nick and our audience some of the opportunities the Best Boys are having now?
No, I haven't, but
Yeah.
I will. But I don't want to cut Shannon off because I know you want to talk about a lived experience we recently had and the resources that we found. Not too much, but definitely so that we can see some of the things that we're doing different.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Doc, please be specific. Which lived experience? Because we live one every day.
Samaritans.
Oh man, that one of the big things that I was just overly excited about was the Good Samaritan. It's an opportunity for people that's living in the 30318 to come to, just imagine this one-stop shop where they actually are producing vegetables for people to eat, because we know, let's be honest, a lot of our health issues is dealing with our gut. So if we can start eating better foods, that would be a more preventative than medicine a lot of times. I hope you guys are not affiliated with any pharmaceutical
No, we're not.
companies. Great.
And we're in the food desert as well.
We're in the food desert as well.
So can you explain what that means, food desert?
That means that we don't have grocery stores that are, when we say grocery stores, we like whole food places that produce organic foods that are really good for us in an area that's within so many miles of the communities that we service. So we're looking at that. But then that Good Samaritan, let me just get back to that. Being able to go there and see that they're producing their own vegetables that are for sale at half the price that you would pay at a Whole Foods for the people that's living in the 30318, to have dentistry programs there for people that's living in that zip code. Anything that you could possibly think of medically, they are offering this service. And the crazy thing about this is that they're having problems just getting the word out that they're there.
Wow.
And these resources are there. They're ready to be used. If you saw the facility, it's a beautiful facility. They want us to come in and have meetings because they want to service that zip code. So when you got people out there that's willing to do this for the people that is in that zip code, we have an obligation as a school not to just, it's not just about what we do when we have them. Remember, we're trying to change environments to have a paradigm shift. So changing that environment means sometimes that we have to have connection with the parents and make them more knowledgeable about what's going on so it can truly be a community that we're really servicing.
Excellent.
And so you were talking about some of the other opportunities that we have. I know Nick is going to be really instrumental in a huge mentor initiative that we have coming up. I'm really excited about that. The Path Church has been phenomenal, and especially during the pandemic, where kids were disconnected with schools, and you guys were able to deliver food to homes, make sure that the seniors still felt loved and appreciated, sponsoring senior dues and shirts and uniforms.
Yeah.
You guys have been really good, even with the parents, and sort of leveling their angst about the pandemic and what to do in a pandemic with their child, because none of us have any lived experiences with the pandemic.
Yeah.
This is new for everyone.
Yeah.
And our kids, they were so strong and so willing to come back and be a part of some normalcy again, coming back to school. And it hasn't really been normal. it's still a bit surreal. And we're making adjustments every day, but we need partners. We need support systems around them, so that it's something that they can contextualize as being normal again.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We love serving, so it's been an honor to serve in the community alongside you.
So,
Thank you.
Tim, you mentioned Ronald Blue Trust, and so we want to start with our mentoring program. So we'll be kicking that off in a few weeks.
Yes.
And what makes a really good mentor? Shannon, you and Dr. Jones, what do you all see? How could our people really impact the kids, and what makes a good mentor?
That's a great question, and that's a question that millions of people, and just not kids, because like I stated when I first sat down, as a 46-year-old man, I needed a mentor.
Right.
And I think anybody that's trying to move and elevate and make themselves better need a mentor. So when we start answering that question, what makes a good mentor, I think the biggest thing is a person that's willing to invest into a person, and it's not about all of the different things that's going on. It's not about trying to get an ad in a newspaper. It's about, I really want to invest in this kid, and I want to invest in this kid or this grown man,
right?
And I want to see him grow, and I'm willing to do what it takes to make sure that they are given opportunities that otherwise wouldn't be presented there, and it doesn't make a difference, because the bottom line is I want to leave this person better than what I found them.
Mm-hmm.
And good. I think it's the desire to be relevant in a kid's life. And what I mean by that, I have mentors in my life now. I have a mentor for my marriage. I have a mentor for my finances. I have a spiritual mentor. So I have a lot of different needs, right? So I think the same person is not, able to do all of that for me. So relevancy is huge, and the desire to seeking first to understand what a child needs, and then being relevant in that aspect of their need is important. And that's the first step, because that builds the relationship, because they see in you an opportunity to grow. And I think a mentor's first inclination is a deep desire to see you at your fullest potential in whatever area of mentorship you need. And knowing that area is huge. And then I think beyond the relationship becomes this reality of, we're here now, and what do we do next? A lot of people just don't know, right? And so a real mentorship is, hey, I'm going to check in on you. That's the beginning. I'm going to, connect with you on a regular basis. I'm going to find out more about you. I'm going to remember important dates in your life, and I'm going to be here and available. That's sort of the start of a good mentor relationship. But then
excuse me. So you're saying a mentoring relationship can turn into a lifelong friendship?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Now, I don't know that, all adults want to call, kids friends, but I do know that the relationship will be predicated on a foundation of respect, and it moves to admiration, and then it moves to a lifelong commitment to pour into each other's lives later. And that's been my experience with good mentors, that certainly I saw initially as a mentor that I was doing something quintessentially different and needed in a person's life. However, what I found was they were actually doing more for me than I thought I was doing for them.
So this is a higher calling. It's not just showing up once a month to read a story to a kid. You're talking about.
Well, I mean, I think there are places for that.
Okay.
But I don't know that that's true mentorship. A mentorship seeks to first understand, and then the mentorship seeks to create this impetus to make a person better through a lived experience.
Yeah, it's interesting, Tim and Shannon, there's different inflection points in people's lives. And you never know if you're hitting that point of where a kid's going to go one way or another way. As you, through your experience with the kids at Best, do you have any stories of kids where you kind of hit that inflection point at the right time and their life changed?
Yeah, even in the brief time that I've been there. Because one of the things, and Dr. Jones does impress this, and it's amazing that he's sitting there saying it, we haven't had this conversation. So one of the big things that I always try to listen with is an ear for perspective. And when I have conversations with young men, I want to know what they're thinking. And I want to give them that avenue to tell me what they are thinking and why they did what they did and how we can, work to make this a little better or try. One of the big things I talk to my kids, and I'll get to the story, is about E plus R equals O. And when they get into my office, I'm an old economics teacher, so I go E plus R equals O. They like, Mr. Williams, what do you mean? Event plus the response to the event equals outcome. Now, a lot of times, son, we can't change the event. The pandemic happened. Mm-hmm. We can't change that. But what we can change is how we respond. And that's what really gets our kids in a lot of trouble is the initial response that they have. But remember, go back to paradigm shift, genetics and environment. They respond a lot of times because they become CD-ROMs and they play whatever has been downloaded by mom, dad, or the environment. So what I'm really trying to impress upon our kids at Best is, look, we gotta have different response if we want a different outcome. Mm-hmm. If your outcome has been the same and you're getting negative things happening to you, it's because you're responding to the event negatively. So they're starting to listen. And I see guys now in the hallway from just 2 months I've been there, and they'll point at me and say, I'm responding differently. I'm responding differently. So, that's the story in itself, not one particular, but you're starting to make an effect on kids because you're cognitively priming them to think differently.
Well, I do have a story.
Okay, I bet you got a lot of them.
Yeah, well, I have one that I want to share because the person who was most important and the most significant person in this child's life is sitting to my right. And so I had a student, Zay, and it was really interesting that, I would always tell him, hey, man, you need to be a wrestler. You're so strong, right? And he picked one of our staff members up and he put him down forcefully, but he didn't do it in a malicious way. He was just playing, trying to show that he could wrestle. And the guy was like, hey, I don't want to wrestle, right? And so that's how I got into my office. And that was my first meeting with Zay. And so I realized a couple of things about Zay. Zay was just in need of someone to say, hey, I see you. Mm-hmm. He just needed some recognition that he existed. Zay was, unfortunately, the man of the house at 13, 14 years old. His mom had several children, and he was the oldest. Or second
oldest of about 7 siblings behind him. Right.
And so he would often, feed the babies and, change the babies and, all of this stuff. And even when his mom was pregnant, he was carrying his mom up the stairs, because he felt he was the provider. Mm-hmm. And no one said, hey, man, you don't have to do all of that. That's not your role, right? You're a good big brother, but you're not a daddy. You can't be a father to all your brothers and sisters. And finally, I had a breakthrough in talking to him. And he said, I don't want to do all of this, but I have to. Mm-hmm. And I said, man, do you have someone that you can talk to on a regular basis? He said, no, but I need it. And I said, I got just the person. And Michael comes through my office doors, and I said, Mike, I was just talking about you. And Dr. Patterson sat down, and they must have had an hour-long conversation. And that was the beginning of the most extraordinary experience. He changed the course of this child's life. Zay thought he was just going to graduate, hopefully, and maybe work in an electronics shop, because he loved to tinker. He was a device guru. He could do anything.
Oh, yeah.
And so smart kid, not necessarily academically, but he had all of these skills that he had acquired over time. So he was a jack of all trades. And so Michael inspired him to study hard, to commit or recommit himself to achieving some goals, to graduating. And then, would you like to tell the rest, sir?
Which part?
What you inspired him to do next with his life and what he's doing now?
I think you inspired him to do
Oh,
that.
come on. We're not going to do that.
But what was so cool, though, getting to know Zay, and I could relate to being the second oldest, a lot of siblings, and life is tough. But we weren't allowed to make excuses growing up. And I'm like, I don't feel sorry for you, brother. You just got to do what you need to do. He came to church, which was cool because we're meeting at the school at the time. We invited Zay. Zay came along and built relationships with the brothers and saw all these married guys, young guys doing things with their lives. And it wasn't just me. The brothers grafted him in and started being his friends and picking him up and spending time with them. And it took a combined effort of the church, the school, Dr. Jones, to get Zay across that stage of graduation. He missed the spring graduation, and we went to the summer graduation, and we celebrated. But now he's in the Marines.
Yeah. And married.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And he's doing so well. And every time I talk to Zay, he says, "Thank you for Dr. Patterson."
Wow.
Yeah,
That's cool.
He will randomly call, say, "I'm doing good." He's in the Marine. But our goal was to help him get out of the community and have a different lived experience. That and I know we talked about whether or not he should go to college, and we talked to him
Or the
about it,
military, right?
because he does have responsibility. His mother needs help. But I remember you saying he's got to see the world.
Yeah.
He's got to see beyond this community. And I think he went to, or is in Japan. Or,
Yeah.
he's traveling, doing different things.
Okinawa. Yes.
Wow. That's great to hear a success story. So,
Yeah.
you know what I'd love is 1 year from now for us to come back together and talk about the kids that we've been able to impact from Ronald Blue Trust doing our mentoring program with you all. So already starting to dream about that.
That's going to be wonderful. I can see it already.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, so much for being here. And thank you for all you shared about mentoring. And what I would like for our audience to understand, we all have something to offer. I think sometimes people feel like, I can't be a mentor. I don't have anything. Concern, care, just being interested in a person's life. And thank you, Mr. Williams. You said at different phases of our lives, we need relationships. And especially for those of us from a Christian background, that's what Christianity is all about. It's about relationships. It's about one another. How can I inspire, encourage another person to be their best self? And we're not just talking about self-help guru talk. We're talking about really what we signed up for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discipleship, investing in other people.
Relationships. And I do want to say thank you, Nick, because you've been a great friend throughout the years. And I have grown. I have learned from you. Thank you, Tim. You've been a great friend throughout the years. I've grown and learned from you. It's about one another relationships.
Right.
And now we're adding another dimension to this, and we're getting involved. We're helping young adults to be their best, whoever God has designed them to be. And guess what? He could use one of us to alter a person's life for eternity.
Yep.
You have any closing thoughts, Nick?
I'm just excited about getting going. I can't wait. And I know there's a lot of us at Ronald Blue Trust that are excited. So we'll be ready to roll out our mentoring program the next few weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, guys, this has been amazing. I'm just sitting here with so many thoughts, and you've inspired me just by sitting here. And the big thing in year one is getting the relationship with these boys for mentor. But I'm a challenge because I'm always a challenging person. Year two or year three, let's throw in some of those teachers, because believe it or not, the teachers are coming back from the pandemic and they need help. They need mentored, because think about who is technically the first person that child is going to have a relationship with in the building. It's that teacher. And some of our teachers are hanging on by a thread. You can see the mental damage of the pandemic. and just to be able to come in and maybe offer mentorship services to an adult teacher, it sounds almost like, come on, dude. But at the same time, I sit and have so many conversations with these teachers every day that need a mentor, that need young teachers that need a mentor.
That's a great point.
And old.
And older. Yeah. Yeah, you're never too old. You're never too old.
Well, I think what we can walk away with from today is we all need relationships. And the pandemic was difficult for all of us. And we enclosed and we barricaded in for about 15 months. And that's not how God made us to be. He created us to be communal people. So again, thank you, gentlemen, so much. Definitely enjoyed all the insight into mentoring. And again, thank you for what you do in public education.
Yeah.
And you guys worked really, really hard during the pandemic. Hopefully you will realize you will be rewarded.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless you.
Thanks for what you're doing for the kids. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Definitely. And we're looking forward to what we're going to have here, Ron Blue and the different individuals who are going to step up and build these relationships. So
Yep.
thank you,
We're
Nick.
ready. Thanks.
It's going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be great. Well, we will see you at the next episode. Thank you, everyone.